What is up, addicts? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video, we are going over the fantasy outlook of Carson Wentz, giving you guys a breakdown of what we can expect from him in fantasy for 2020. And before we get started, hit that subscribe button for us to get subscribed to more videos like this one, and let's get going. So, last year, in the grand scheme of things, should actually be seen as a success for Carson Wentz in terms of his efficiency, in terms of being able to play 16 games in the regular season after being labeled injury prone. He set a record for the first quarterback ever to throw 4,000 yards without a single receiver on his team eclipsing 500 yards, which that is more of the problem than Carson Wentz was last year, considering his receivers just absolutely could not stay healthy, and it was just a constant stream of injuries for this team. Now, jumping into 2020, what can we expect to be different? Obviously, we're starting the season out. Looks like Deshaun Jackson may be healthy. Alshon Jeffrey most likely a candidate for PUP, but they did add Jalen Reagor in the first round. Zach Ertz is still there. Still got Dallas Goedert, and then Miles Sanders taking a more prominent role. This looks to be, at least on the surface, a more improved team, at least especially considering where they ended the season last year. So where will that lead Carson Wentz? Well, we'll begin by recapping last year, and again, keeping in mind everything we just said. Finishes the year just above 4,000 passing yards. Very good touchdown interception ratio, 27-7, and 243 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Finishes 9th overall, but finishes 12th on average points per game. So not the worst by any means. Didn't really win you a season, but didn't completely tank your team either. We look at his game-by-game stats. The first half of the year was a little bit more consistent. We had a pretty dry spell in the middle of the season, and then he had a couple good games towards the end there as the Eagles were doing everything they could to make the playoffs. So very, very up and down year, but never really incredibly excited to have Carson Wentz. Never broke into the top 3, only had 2 weeks in the top 6, and for the most part was not even a quarterback 1. So even though he finishes as the 9th overall quarterback, you only had about half of the season that you were even happy that you started him, and even then you were very rarely, if ever, excited that you did start him. So can we expect a lot of that to change heading into 2020? Now, one thing I didn't mention about the draft is obviously the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. So I don't think that is really an indictment on Carson Wentz. I think it was a value proposition. Obviously, Carson Wentz has dealt with injuries, and the fact that the Eagles had Nick Foles was the reason that they were able to win a Super Bowl before, because they had a competent quarterback behind Carson Wentz. So this gives them the another capabilities of doing that. I don't think this is an indictment on Carson Wentz at all. However, I do think that Doug Peterson is a competent coach, and I would find it hard to believe that they wouldn't at least try to get Jalen Hurts at least involved to a extent, kind of like we see in New Orleans with Taysom Hill. We could probably see a lot of run plays, or it's almost like running a wildcat with Jalen Hurts, although he can throw the ball. So I would not be surprised to see Jalen Hurts touch the ball at least a couple times every week, just to keep things interesting, keep defenses on their toes, which could definitely eat into the rushing capabilities of Carson Wentz, and that could also be a move that they try to take to shore up and keep Carson Wentz healthy. Keep him from running the ball as much. I wouldn't be surprised if his rushing carries came down a little bit this year, but he should be able to be a little bit more efficient. So last year, very accurate, very good passer overall. As we said, very efficient. 19 money throws, which was 8th in the NFL. He did actually kind of get lucky in terms of the number of interceptions he had last year. Only had 7 interceptions, but had 25 interceptable passes. So many more interceptions could have happened last season just based on luck of the draw, defenders dropping it, not coming down with it. So overall, could have been a much worse season for Carson Wentz in the interception department, and at a very low touchdown rate of 4.4%. Obviously, a huge swing from where he was a couple of years ago on his almost, could have been an MVP season if he didn't go down with the ACL injury towards the end of the year. He had a touchdown rate of around, I believe, 7.5%. So Still expecting a little bit more regression closer to the 5% this year. That would make sense, especially if his wide receivers can actually stay healthy. Jalen Reagor can get more involved. Very accurate last year, 7.6 accuracy rating, which was fifth best in the NFL, and also had to deal with the sixth most dropped passes amongst his receivers in the NFL, and his true completion percentage was a bit lower than you would expect considering the accuracy rating, but again, the supporting cast for Carson Wentz definitely didn't help him out. All that being said, how much more can we actually expect from Carson Wentz if he has a lot more of those interceptable passes go against him? That could be very bad. If his receivers don't stay healthy, it's not like Alshon Jeffrey or Deshaun Jackson are guaranteed to be able to play any significant role whatsoever, other than adding Marquise Goodwin to the roster to potentially play that field stretching role if Deshaun Jackson goes down again. Jalen Reagor should help out a lot, but he's still a rookie, so how much can we expect him to be able to take on immediately? This could be a situation where the team is still a bit off kilter from where they want to be. They just lost their all-pro guard, which is going to cause, some more problems on the offensive line for Carson Wentz, could lead to a bit more pressures, which might also turn into some more interceptions. It could end up being a little bit less of an efficient year from Carson Wentz, but hopefully his receivers stay healthy and he can have a little bit more production based on actually being able to throw to someone other than Greg Ward. Right now, where we have him projected, we have him at 4,300 passing yards and 29 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions. The interception count, again, we recognize could probably be much higher, but we're giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's been able to keep that interception count pretty low for his entire career. We do have his rushing yards going down a bit to 181. Again, as we explained, we think that Jalen Hurts will most likely be a bit more involved in the run game, and that might also suppress the amount of carries that Carson Wentz gets from a week-to-week basis. But that rushing touchdown total is very arbitrary. That could jump up, even up to like 5 touchdowns if the cards go in Carson Wentz's favor near the goal line. So this puts him, in that quarterback 4 tier behind the big 6 quarterbacks. And, there's quite a few quarterbacks in that tier that we like a lot. I recognize there's a lot of upside with Carson Wentz. Very accurate quarterback. If Jalen Reagor comes on and lights the world on fire, that could be a massive upgrade. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are still the best tight end tandem in the NFL. We're expecting a big leap from Miles Sanders. So there's a lot of positives around this team. But overall, I just can't seem to buy into taking Carson Wentz again, because even if he improved slightly, last year there really wasn't any time that you were happy owning Carson Wentz in a seasonal league, and there really weren't even that many times that you were able to play him even in DFS. So if he has a few more big games, he becomes more of like a DFS streaming candidate, but it would take a pretty massive leap for him to go back to the realms of you wanting to start him pretty much every week. His ADP is all over the place right now, so you might be able to get him at a value. And if all the other quarterbacks in the same tier go ahead of him, I'm still comfortable taking Carson Wentz, but he's not someone that I'm actively going out and trying to acquire this year. So I guess you could say my confidence in him is lukewarm, although I'm not expecting a total dud either. It's just an uninspiring pick for me, and I'd rather either take someone earlier that I know has a lot more upside, or just wait and take someone a lot cheaper a lot later and just ride that train rather than spend the most likely around 8th, 9th round pick you'd have to spend to get Carson Wentz. But anyway, that is our opinion. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys think, and hit that like and subscribe button for more content like this. We'll see you guys in the next video.